Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for today's webinar. We're absolutely delighted that you can make it. So far, there's 77 of you, and I hope the number is growing. My name is Bertie. I'm one of the coaches at Crowdfunder, and today we've got Ben, who is part of the team at Rocketfund.
Hello, everybody.
So essentially, just a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. So a few boring bits. So we're going to run this for an hour. It's going to form, half of which is going to be slides and an introduction to the subject of the webinar, what you signed up to, which Ben's going to tell us a bit more about. Then the remaining half an hour is going to be an extended Q&A. So there's a chat box on the right-hand side of your screen. And we've got our lovely colleague, Nicole, there to answer questions throughout the webinar, but also to highlight any kind of key questions that we can address at the end of the session. So just so you know, you can see us, but we can't see you. So feel free to be in as informal as you like. We at least are trying our best, both wearing shirts, but of course board shorts beneath. But the principle is that you're all signed up through the Eventbrite format. We've therefore got your emails, and we can send every piece of information, resource, and a replay of this webinar to you after we finished. So this is accessible again to those maybe who can't make it, or for those of you who really enjoyed it and want to watch it again. But without further ado, we'll get started, shall we?
Yeah, just a second. We've had a few people say they can't hear anything. Is there any quick solutions to that, Bertie?
So the quick solutions might be to refresh the page. So I'll type that into the box.
Yeah, because saying the answers won't help them.
Yeah.
So guys, if you can't hear us or can't hear us very well, then refresh the page. But great to see so many people here.
Yeah, and feel free to introduce yourself. This is going to be kind of a wonderful little networking exercise. We've probably got people from all over the country joining us today, and we're going to find out a bit more about yourselves.
Okay.
So I think that's probably, we're getting some good feedback from everyone. Essentially, the connection from our side is fine. It might be for anyone that you should enable the microphone or the video on your computer. That might be a key bit. So I'll just type that into the box, and but Ben can kick us off with the agenda. Great.
Yeah. Hello, everybody, and fantastic to have so many people here today on our first Live and Learn webinar. So the agenda for today, first of all, we're going to introduce ourselves and the platforms that we both represent. And then we're going to go through these things. So we're going to discuss what crowdfunding actually is and discuss the benefits of crowdfunding for schools and PTAs. We're going to talk about what makes a good crowdfunding project, talk about what rewards you could offer, and then discuss some school fundraising ideas that we've got for how you could run sort of the traditional events that you would normally do this term online instead. And then finally, we'll finish off with a look at what funding is available this term, and then we'll have hopefully a good half an hour for Q&A in the second half of this presentation. So we'll do half an hour slides and half an hour Q&A. If we don't get to as we go, feel free to type your questions in the chat box, and we'll, like I said, our colleague Nicole is on hand to answer those questions, and we'll also try and get to those at the end too if we don't in the chat. So first things first, let's just introduce ourselves. So I created Rocketfund about 3 years ago whilst I was inside a big charity called Nesta, and we helped over 500 schools raise about £400,000 over that time. And it went really well, basically. It was inspired by something from the US. And then early this year, it was acquired by Crowdfunder, which is a much bigger crowdfunding platform for all sorts of wonderful projects, which is where Bertie's from.
Yeah, so I'm one of the senior coaches at Crowdfunder UK, and we've been in operation for about 5 to 6 years. And I think the background of crowdfunding has always been an alternative form of finance. And over the last years in which we've been open, it's steadily getting more well-known and understood by the public, because you're probably seeing it a lot at the moment, whether that's environmental campaigns, whether that's politics, or there's a huge amount of support through Crowdfund UK at the moment for businesses and charities who have suffered during the COVID pandemic. So while we're talking about schools in particular, Crowdfund UK is an open platform for everything, from books, films, businesses, charities, and much more besides. But we've been working with a huge number of schools, and the wonderful meeting of Rocketfund and Crowdfunder has formed essentially a platform which mirrors our own site, and that we can ensure that we can play host to all of the incredible schools out there who want to be doing fundraising in this type of online format. And lastly, crowdfunding, for those of you who are very new to it, there's no reinvention of the wheel when it comes to fundraising. So a lot of schools I know traditionally are very good at fundraising. They're always doing raffles, events, and so on. Crowdfunding just gives you a secure place in which to collect all of the money and a online page to tell your story and to send out to an extended and wider audience. So it's very, very useful. And we'll dive into a bit more about why we think crowdfunding is great and that you'll love it too.
Awesome. And so for those of you who already know Rocketfund from the previous few years, you may notice a few changes. We've got a new logo designed by the Crowdfunder design marketing team, and the platform's changed slightly. Basically everything is much better. We've got a better platform, and we now have access to experts like Bertie, who can use their experience with all these other projects they've been supporting over the last 8 years to help supercharge school fundraising efforts as well. So it's really exciting collaboration, I think. Right, so we've talked about ourselves. Now we're going to just find out who else is here. So I'm going to launch a quick poll. You should see it on your screens now. You can tick whichever category best describes you. We'd love to know who's here. It's like some sort of horse race. It looks like fantastic.
It is quite exciting.
Is it? Yeah. I can leave that running whilst we go on to the next slide.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So what is crowdfunding? Good question. Here's our dictionary definition that we've come up with after years and years of thinking. Essentially, crowdfunding is the process of raising money from a large number of people. Nowadays, this is usually over the internet. But crowdfunding has been around for a long time. Did you know that the Statue of Liberty was given as a present from France to America in the 19th century, but they couldn't afford the plinth that was designed to stand on. So they had to crowdfund for that, just so they could give her a home. And they raised, I think it was $100,000 at the time, which is obviously an enormous amount of money, 150, 200 years ago.
And a wonderful sentiment.
And a wonderful sentiment, exactly. The people of New York and America all contributed towards it. But the point is that crowdfunding itself isn't a new concept. It's just essentially fundraising from lots of people. And we have got these online platforms which enable you to do it far more easily than collecting checks or cash. So there are 5 different types of crowdfunding. We've got donation-based, which is like Just Giving, probably the platform that most people have heard of, which is simply just giving money to a cause that you care about. There's then rewards-based, which is what we tend to focus on, where people offer rewards in return for donations, which can just be a thank you, but they're a great way of encouraging larger donations than you would normally get from Just Giving. And there are 3 other types, which we won't talk about today because they relate more to businesses and selling shares and equity in their business. Right, I'm going to end the poll. It looks like mostly people are from PTAs, which is brilliant. Thank you for telling us who's here. And we'll go back to the chat.
Lots more exciting polls to come as well.
Yeah, well, here we go. So next poll is, what do you guys want to fundraise for? So if you have anything on your mind, what is it you want to fundraise for? How do I launch this term? And I'm sorry that I've given 4 categories. I know there might be many, many other things. So if there's other, then please type that in the chat. And
fantastic, yes. And I think that for those of you who are thinking about something quite different, you can, there's no kind of limit to what you can crowdfund for. And one of the benefits is to use these websites to explore what people have done previously. And that will give you a really good sense of how someone successfully completed a campaign. Crowdfunding is so replicable because whether it's a school garden, sports equipment, people are very much putting together the same types of stories. And everyone does that in a different way. And therefore, you'll have lots of evidence to pull from and draw from to find out what exactly is the most effective format to do it and how to tell your story and dress your page in the best way.
Absolutely. So lots of outdoor spaces projects, which is brilliant to see, and it's one of my favorites because they're so exciting, creative, and lots of other projects too. So if you have another, then feel free to type that in the chat so you can get an idea of the sorts of things that people are thinking about fundraising for. Right, and that poll. So here's how it works. There's essentially 4 stages to a crowdfunding project. First of all, we have to create it, like to go onto rocketfund.org, create your project, follow the instructions, and then publish it. Once it's live, you share it with everybody you know. They then donate, and hopefully you hit your targets. And then the last bit, which lots of people forget about, is after you've hit your target and the project's finished, you send out your awards, which we'll talk a bit about later. So yeah. Diving into, sorry, Bertie.
Well, I was just going to butt in and mention that the whole process is driven around yourself as a learning experience. So as you engage with the platform, the first thing that you want to do is start creating a project. So we'll include the website for Rocketfund in the chat. And the best way to learn how to do it is to start the process. That will stay in draft for as long as you like. So it's not something that you have to complete in a very, very late night, but essentially it's best to set a date in your mind as to when you want to go live and work towards that point. And beyond these, this is a very basic snapshot of what you'll be doing, but we've got lots and lots of resources available in particular, so you can tell your story effectively, identify your audience and know a bit more about what target to set and how to run a campaign. So there is a lot of information out there which we can certainly provide.
And we've had a few questions about rewards. Don't worry, guys, we'll come on to those in a second. But yeah, essentially rewards can just be a simple thank you. Okay, so first step, creating a project. Like we said, go to rocketfund.org, click the big pink button which says get started. And then as Bertie described, there's a user journey that you'll go through of creating a project, and it all stays in draft form until you click publish. So you feel free to start it, go away, come back, to ask people for some ideas or gather some information and come back when suits you. And then once you're ready, you click publish, and hopefully it looks something like this, although this is actually on Crowdfunder, so it won't have the big orange button, it'll have a pink button. But this is sort of a whole project is ready to go, and we'll talk about in a sec. So then once it's live, it's time the first half is creating the project, the second half is sharing it with everybody you know. And this is sort of the most important bit. So one way of sort of maximizing the efficiency of your sort of marketing campaign is to first of all map out who you think might be interested in supporting you or sharing your project. And here's our sort of framework or sort of suggested framework for which might help you brainstorm ideas for who might be interested. So we'll send you a link to all this at the end, by the way, so easy to copy. But just think about people who've supported you before, or local businesses or community groups. School suppliers are a great one. School alumni, classically untapped by state schools, but they donate huge amounts of money to private schools. So if you have any way of reaching your alumni, it can be really, really effective. School social media channels, parents, friends, and family. Basically everybody you know. And what I always say is brilliant about schools is that you already have existing communities you can go to. Whereas if a normal project like a bike shop or a cafe went to Bertie through Crowdfunder and said I want to crowdfund, the first thing they'd say, is like, do you have a community? Do you have an email list, or people that you already like you and support you? That's the customers. And because if not, it's very, very hard to fundraise, because most donations come from people that you know and that you have contact with. Once you get past a certain stage and it starts to snowball, you'll start to get donations from people you don't know, who hear about it on social media or even local press, which is really exciting. But it starts off with the people that you know.
Yeah, and as a exercise at Crowdfunder, we always start with this one, and technically it should be something that if you are a PTA or similar, that you can all do individually and contribute to one piece of work. So this starts usually as a creative exercise on a big sheet of paper, but ends up on a spreadsheet. And then you can very, very clearly with columns separate exactly the list of your audience that you think you've got access to. And quickly, between you'll see the fact that you've actually got a huge audience. Because even if, let's say, there's 10 people in a PTA, I think there's no stretch of the imagination that you all could find access to a further 10 people who would be happy to contribute to the school. So that's quickly 100 supporters. And a little bit, we touched on the difference between donations and offering rewards. Donations, the average is roughly about £20, whereas the pledge on a reward is about £50. So for either campaign, that's your first £2,000 or £5,000, and it's a really good starting point to get everyone thinking about just that basic 10 people they know to get the initial audience out there.
Absolutely. Okay, so just to wrap up this slide here, we talked about there's different channels you can use. The top ones that schools normally use: the school website, school newsletter, and social media. Any comms you have with the parents, like text messaging or email systems. And then your school networks, so like your governor networks, PTA networks, and alumni networks, these are the best places to start, and then you'll hopefully see things start to snowball from there. Right, so top tip, we've seen, if you really want to hit your target quickly, is to try to build excitement before you launch. And the way to do this is simply announce your projects before you're live, just to build up anticipation for it. So there's a great project I saw a year ago where he announced it on the school newsletter the week before. And when they went live, they hit the target within 40 minutes. Like, it's just unbelievable. And it was, through people donating on their phones, after getting a text message from the school about this new project that the English teacher had launched to raise money for projectors for his English classrooms. It really recommends sort of like building some anticipation. And then so when you launch, you have some people primed, ready to go. And then you build momentum immediately, because as soon as people see other people donating, it starts to accumulate.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, and I think the priming your audience part is a great way to find other people to help, because if you can paint a picture of what you're intending to fundraise for in the newsletter or through those other comms channels, and offer an email address for anyone who would like to help, or you could ask for people to suggest rewards they'd be interested in pledging on, then you've got a kind of an engaged crowd to start with, which is means your bit of your work's done before launching it. And a lot of people, I think, you have to launch it cold so that you're working it in your own closed environment, and then you're sharing it to everyone. But it's not really that way. You want to kind of engage with lots of other people first, get their support, opinion and ideas, and then launch with their support before moving out to kind of the wider audiences. Okay,
great. Right, so once you've launched, hopefully you see the money start to fly in. This is an example of a live page, and it's just super easy to donate. Literally, as someone hits the page on their phone or on the computer, clicks support, the big pink support us button, and then you can donate with your debit card or credit card. So it's, this can be done from anywhere and by anybody, and you can also do it anonymously if you want to, which is often quite appealing to the larger donors. And hopefully, as the money does fly in, if you keep promoting it and sharing it with everybody, you'll hit your target. And this is a project we had earlier this year where it's just we'll talk about it a bit in a minute, but very simple project, raising money for Leavers hoodies. and their initial target was £300, and they raised £1,000 in a few weeks, which was, well, 2 weeks, which is fantastic. And then at the end, you send your rewards like we talked about. So this is an example of rewards from the hoodie project, and just sort of to illustrate how good it is to keep them simple. Because then when you get to the rewards bit, it's very easy to send them out. So a personal thank you, that can be a little video message or an email. And this the classic thing that we see is like a thank you from the teacher, thank you from the students, and maybe a thank you from the head teacher. It's like different tiers of reward. And then you can even do a public reward. If you want to put their name in lights, or you just want to sign, or a newsletter, or on the school website, you could list the bigger donors, for example.
Yeah, and you really don't have to reinvent the wheel. So I know a lot of you will be maybe thinking about what kind of rewards could we possibly offer, but just think about what you might have done in the past for normal raffles as well, because that's absolutely the same part of fundraising, whether that's a tea towel, a mug, a hoodie itself, buy one, give one type opportunities. There's much you can do around this subject. It just takes a bit of kind of few people to join and have a think and get some ideas on the table. Absolutely.
Okay, so just to highlight the benefits of crowdfunding for schools and PTAs. We think there's 4 key benefits. The main one I sort of touched upon is that by collecting money online or fundraising online, it means that anyone anywhere can donate whenever they like, which means that the great aunts and uncles or grandparents or alumni who might live 100 miles away from your school but would love to support you can suddenly get involved and just simply donate, or donate in return for a reward like access to a quiz or a play or something else, which is just incredible. And you might be really, really surprised how many people do want to support your school and how much they will donate when you enable them to. Another really good benefit is like a really quite unique feature to Crowdfunder, which now is available on Rocketfund, which means that a school can create a single fundraising page and then enable other people to fundraise towards that single goal. So you could create a single page, and then different students or like sports teams or groups or classes could create their own fundraising page towards it. So say you're trying to build a new sports pitch, you could have 10 or so different projects all contributing towards it with their own story and their own activities, which we think is a really great way of multiplying your fundraising. Another really great benefit, like I mentioned, is that people can donate anonymously. That might sound strange, but we often find that larger donors, people who donate in the hundreds or even thousands of pounds, often want to keep the name private, which is absolutely fine. And by doing it, by raising money through crowdfunding, it enables that to happen. And you'll be really surprised what comes out of the woodwork when you enable this. And then that's the final point, which is the reason I think crowdfunding is so beautiful is that it means people can donate as much as they like or can afford. So this can be anything from like nothing or a pound, and we've seen many donations of £1 up to thousands of pounds or more, which we've also seen. And the message is simply just help us by donating or sharing. If you don't want to donate, just share this, and that's going to help. So might raise awareness amongst other people who want to support the school. And there's many people who in your local community who literally might walk past the school who'd like to help, or who went to the school but never hear about sort of the traditional offline fundraising events that schools normally do. So it's definitely worth giving a go.
Yeah, and I think from schools, this is there's a lot going on at the moment. I really appreciate all of the hard work that a lot of you are going to have to do, because times are very difficult. So this crowdfunding campaign is a marketing exercise. It's your chance to tell the story of what's happening at the school and the really important things that you as a community need to focus on. And it's a creative medium. So otherwise, traditionally, you might have used newsletters and maybe other things. This is you're using those resources still, but you've got an active way in which to directly collect the funds. And it's a very positive experience, and you get to really show and validate the importance of the school in the community. really, really can be a very, very positive experience.
Right. So what makes a good crowdfunding project? So here's a quick look at 2 different projects we've seen. I'm going to talk through the one on the left, and the both going to talk through on the right. So on the left is a really, really simple project. That's literally the entire project you can see on the left-hand side, which just shows that you don't have to have a jazzy project to raise the money. It's more about the sharing bit of your campaign than the actual project creation bit. They've got just a picture of a hoodie, 2 paragraphs of text explaining what they're raising money for and why, and a really nice title which explains exactly what they're doing. And that was it. And they've got 72 donors with 39 comments, really nice engagement. But they didn't do any updates, and there's no videos and no other pictures. That you could argue this project was so straightforward, there was no need for that. But I just wanted to give an example of how you can keep it really simple and it can still work.
Yeah, and I'd like to just share my screen with you to show you a school crowdfunding campaign. This is Help Us Grow Morning School Nature Garden. So like many of you today, you're all recognizing the importance of outdoor spaces and places of nature for children. The sentiment goes that if people don't learn about the environment or have the opportunity to be outside of it, then they won't care for it in the future. And we've all seen that statistic around the fact that people in prison have more time outside than kids at school do. So it's really, really an important thing. And I love the fact there's lots of people there crowdfunding for it. But we do offer guidance to show you how to put together a project page. And what you're appealing to is people's interest. So we believe that the process of crowdfunding requires a bit of storytelling, and that where you've got some really great tools at your disposal. So if we look at this page, we've got a video which we're going to watch later, 30 seconds just to show the kind of landscape and the people who are going to benefit from the proposed crowdfunding campaign. You've got the aim: inspire, challenge and nurture our children through a garden oasis at our school that will teach them about nature and help them grow. And then you've got the project page. So if you think about any other experience online, we know that people can be distracted easily. So therefore we've got to make the content as digestible as possible. And you'll have everything you need in the toolbox to do this. So whether that's creating headings, adding images, different paragraphs of text, and that way you've got a much greater representation of the work that you're intending to do, and all of these smiling faces who are clearly having wonderful time and enjoying themselves. So I think with crowdfunding, it's very people focused, and we've got to remember, therefore, the humanity behind it. And so images speak 1,000 words, and you've got the option to decorate it as you see fit. And especially when it comes to schools, you sometimes need to just remind people of how relevant it is. Like Ben said, maybe it's on their commute, or maybe they drive past it every single day, or they just need the knowledge that there's a school in their locality that they can recognize a photo of. It could be the teachers, the kids, and that story will incentivize people to engage with the program, be inspired by it, and feel like they can get involved. So I think it's completely up to you how much effort you put into the exercise, but I'm a big believer that you will get out of it what you put in. So the hoodies campaign project was very much, as Ben says, a kind of straightforward ask. But I wonder, could they have got more money if they just told the story in more of an inviting way? And that's what your challenge is, and that's the fun and really the reminder to people of how important your campaign is.
Absolutely. Right, we're going back to the slides.
Yes, I'll just slap the slides back on. Here we go.
Thank you. All right, great. So hopefully that's giving you a really good overview of different. You got two extremes basically. They both worked. So that if you haven't got time to whack up a short story and a picture, that's fine. But if you want to potentially maximize the appeal of your project and maybe raise more money, then it's great to sort of add some photos and some headings, and feel free to email us and we can give you some support and advice about how to optimize your project too. And we'll send out this. We are going to send these slides at the end, so we've included a little checklist of things to consider when you're making your project. So onto the rewards bit. I know a few people were asking about the rewards. Top tip: keep them simple. There's most people that just want to donate to your school and do your calls. They don't really care about the rewards, but they're a great way of encouraging larger donations. So they put a line in the sand. So if you say 10, 20, and 50, people might donate a bit more than they would if you said nothing. And you can also offer bigger rewards, like £100, £500 for like sponsorship opportunities, or to buy a single thing. So say you're raising money for 10 iPads, the cost of one iPad, I think is about £300. You could have that as a reward and just buy as a single iPad, or get your business's name on our newsletter, £500, things like that. Here's some examples from projects that we've seen before. Number one was a big thank you, just £10. And then 2 and 3 are different types of gifts that the students have created. And then the fourth, £100 one, was an invitation to an event and to a name in lights, which I think was having it on the school notice board in the hallway. But these things don't have to be massive, but you can still make them sound massive, but they don't have to be massive. I would just really recommend not making them too arduous to deliver once you've completed your project. And here's our sort of like the categories or types of rewards you could think about offering. Like I said, offering products or services, things that kids have made or things that have been donated to your school by local businesses. So just a thing. Tickets to an event. So obviously at the moment might have to be online, but you could offer that. Sponsorship opportunities, like it talks about having their name appearing somewhere in your marketing materials at the school, or on even a notice board or a plaque. And then the simplest one, just thank you messages. And you can tier those from thank you messages from the students up to the head teacher, or the whole school, whatever you think is appropriate.
Yeah, and there's so many. If you look at the Rocketfund page, or likewise on Crowdfunded, there's a lot of examples. So just have a look at what the other schools have done.
It's a great tip. Just had a cat come and join me, which is she's obviously interested in crowdfunding as well. Just
88 people attended.
Yeah. Okay, so we've talked about how it all works, and now we want to just give you some ideas for how you could use the platform to run the fundraising activities that you may normally have run this term online, because obviously the world has changed a lot in the last 8 months, and things are going to be a little bit difficult for the next 6 months at least. So these are some things that we're going to talk about, ways you can still do those activities, but in a social distance way. So the first one, which is probably actually, do you want to do a quick poll? Sorry, I forgot about the poll. So yes, what things are you planning? Yeah. So first of all, let's just find out what you guys are planning on doing this term.
Thank you again for all these questions. We've got a big Q&A session at the end, which we'll go through them because they are really, really good. I'm just looking at them come in. So we've got the race on.
Yeah.
Who's in the lead? Who's in the lead?
If you're ticking other, then feel free to write those in the comments in the chat box as well. Looks like Raffle is by far and away the favourite at the moment. Hopefully, when we've discussed how you can do the other days or events, that there'll be a bit more support for those too. Right, I'm going to finish the poll. Looks like Raffle's the winner, and a fancy dress day. Oh no, fancy dress day has crept up, and a 10% Christmas fair Okay, and yeah, if it's not other, then feel free to drop that in the chat box too, because it's really interesting to see what schools are doing, especially at this time. Zoom cooking sessions, I love it. Virtual wine tasting, that's another fantastic idea. Virtual balloon race, eco, of course, which is brilliant. Real balloon races, they're not very 2020, are they? Christmas fair and Santa Dash, yeah, this awesome. Raffle walks, okay, brilliant. So let's flick through some of the sort of classic ideas, and we'll discuss how you could do them. So bake sales, obviously, a traditional bake sale is virtually impossible right now, but you could still sell the cakes online. So you could create a Rocketfund project page and then have different types of reward, which are basically different types of cake. So a cupcake to a piece of cake to a whole cake, whatever you like. And you can sell them online, collect the money online, and then they could maybe be distributed through the students, which might be a bit of a long shot, or at the school gates, if that's safe.
Yeah, and just to comment on that, during lockdown in particular, the amount of businesses which changed their services to online, so that they were delivering or offering people to take away cups of coffee, to sandwiches, to loaves of bread, to their shopping. So what we've seen over lockdown and COVID is the online community has really grown, even more so than it was before. So people are very used to this type of process. And I've seen crowdfunding campaigns at the moment which are offering a lemon drizzle tray bake or little cakes and things like that. So it is a really good idea, and you just I think you want to try and get a few images on there to kind of whet people's appetites on the page.
Basically, it's an online cafe, basically, isn't it? I mean, I know I would buy some of those from the local school on my road if they're available. Okay, so that's one idea. Next one, fancy dress day. So hopefully, so you can still do fancy dress day as you normally would, but you can, instead of the children bringing in money to school as cash, you can collect the money online again. So a reward could be a £2 ticket to fancy dress day, and you could have, even if you wanted tiers, you could do that. So the platform enables you to collect money without having to transfer cash having to change hands. If you're not, obviously the kids aren't going to school, then you can still do fancy dress day, but it might be online. That's what our office is doing, the crowdfunder office, Rocketfund office, on Halloween. We're having a virtual fancy dress day.
we're a lot of fun. Yeah. But also just to premeditate a question. There might be some people who send in checks or do bring cash. So this is just simply pledged onto the campaign. You just need to take that to the bank account that it's registered to, and then you can pledge it onto the campaign yourself.
Brilliant. Okay, another idea, an online quiz. So it's I don't know if you guys like me maybe got a bit sick of quizzes in the first half of this year, but it's been a while. We've had a 4-month break. They're probably going to be coming back. I actually miss them now, and it's a really great way of raising money, because you can just sell tickets to the quiz. So it's a £5 ticket, £10, whatever it is, and you can run this on Zoom or Google Hangouts, whichever your preferred platform is. Crowdfunder actually did a world record quiz earlier this year with the world's biggest pub quiz. Was it, Bertie?
It was in the Guinness Book World Records. So really fun, and as you say, it was a very kind of low entry price point to watch and take part. But we've even hosted the Fringe Festival online this year. So in August, it couldn't happen. So all of the events and the shows were over Zoom and other webinar portals as well. So we're all adapting, and some of the greatest ones like that are as well. They have to.
Exactly. I just answered a question. We're going to get to questions in a second, but just to address this. The rewards are things that you create, which you can be for whatever value and whatever you want. I think there's a maximum value of the actual physical value of the reward you're offering can't be more than 25% of the actual cash value that you're asking for. Otherwise, it becomes not a donation, it becomes a purchase. So that's the only thing to bear in mind. But most things you're offering don't actually have a cash value. So access to a quiz, for example, that's just it's just a ticket to a quiz you've made up. So that's fine. And the way this would work in this situation, an online quiz, you'd create a page on Rocketfund, I don't know, St. John's School's online quiz, have a little description about when it is and what's going to be about. It can be a weekly or fortnightly thing. And then the reward you create is just simply a ticket to the quiz, £5 or whatever you think, £10. And then when people buy that, you'll get access to their emails, and you can just email them the link to the quiz when you're ready or on the day, just like we did for this event. Okay, another one, the raffle. So legally, we have to call it the online prize draw. There's some quirk of terminology. But essentially, if you want to run an online prize draw, you can use Rocketfund 2. Again, it's just like with a quiz. You create your own page, the description about when it's going to be, and then the rewards are essentially tickets. So maybe £2 is one ticket, £5 is 3 tickets, and £10 is 5 tickets. Whatever the math is, whatever you want to offer. And even up to, we've seen people up to £100, batches. The only caveat with an online prize draw, which we'll give you, is you have to have some template text at the bottom of it saying that you can also enter offline too, which Bertie will be able to explain more.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there are just some rules, and not that it does at all, but it falls into the gambling category. So as platforms, Crowdfunder and Rocketfund both have to have terms and conditions, which are available in the terms and conditions to give you a guidance on exactly how to operate that kind of reward on your campaign page. It's just a few things that you'll have to bear in mind when you're putting the page together.
Yeah, and just a question on the we've just had a question on the cake sale. So about the reward being 25% of the actual. The physical value of the reward being only 25% of the actual cash. I mean, you just need to ask for more money than the cake's worth. So a cupcake is probably not worth £2 in real, So you just as you would at the cake sale, you just charge an extortionate amount of money for the cake, basically. Or you can argue that the cake wouldn't be for sale anyway, so it doesn't actually have a cash value, because otherwise you'd be giving it away. But there's, it's only really if there's a tangible value, like it's an item that you've bought. So if you're offering a phone, which is worth £1,000, you wouldn't be able to offer it as £1,000 reward. It would have to be a lot, £4,000. So that's the only real situation when you have a cash receipt for the item, I think. Bertie, is that correct? So
I think the most important thing to bear in mind is that there are no kind of very, very strict rules in terms of rewards giving. The essentials really are just to ensure that what you're offering doesn't go beyond the expectations of that normal type of product. So I think with all crowdfunding campaigns, if I was putting a school one together myself, I would do a range of rewards across the categories that Ben mentioned. So we've got products and services, experiences and events, sponsorship and membership, and the general thank yous. So I would do tea towels and mugs. I'd charge them probably for about even £10 to £20, because if you make those, that's probably going to cost you £3 a pop. So you know that there's a margin in there of £17, let's say. And then for the experiences and events, we'd have access to a talent show, which is kind of put together by the kids. Maybe each of them records a dance routine or magic tricks, and you sew that together, and you can send that as a digital video, or you can do as an online event. And similar with the prize draws and such. And I think the markets, Christmas markets that Ben's going to talk about. So I think you just need to look at all of the opportunities per category, and that way people will have many opportunities to get involved, and it's about catering to that particular audience.
Great point. Okay, and last thing before we move on, yes, online prize draw is the legal term that we have to use for a raffle. I don't know why we can't use the word raffle, so we call it an online prize draw. But yeah, if you want to run a raffle, this is it. This is what we're talking about. Okay. Right, so just last two ideas. Christmas fairs. So obviously normal Christmas fair this year is virtually impossible. But again, you could run it through our platform, and you essentially just have quite a long project description page. So your story, you would essentially have, you'd have the items that are available to buy as a list item. So you have a photo of a Christmas card, for example, and put the price, or something that someone's made, or something that a local supplier or crafts person has made, and you'll just list them as items in your project page, and then have them as rewards. And the great thing about the rewards functionality is that you can limit the number available. So say you only have 20 Christmas cards available, you can limit that reward to 20 and charge whatever you like for the card. And you just do that for every product that you're selling. Yes, exactly. So Karen just asked, can we limit the number of each rewards? Yes. If you have 12 mugs to sell, yes. That's the sort of the beauty of it. I mean, so we're going to be doing a Christmas fair campaign for schools. Crowdfund Central team are going to be doing a Christmas fair campaign for the Christmas markets, the ones you get in town centres, and it'll be exactly like this. So it's worth giving it a try. And then finally, sorry, Bertie. You go.
Well, I was just going to say, rewards-wise, there's so much longevity in the value. I've still got the mugs and the tea towels that I mean, the artistry of a 6-year-old self put together or featured a scribble of his face on, and I love those things. They're wonderful parts of our kind of young history. So the same things you can do, the traditional things, the normal things, you just do it for a crowdfunding campaign. And as Ben says, you don't need to think about postage and packaging, because it's very easy for people to pick it up from the school itself.
Great point. Okay, last suggestion for this term is one that I'm really, really keen on, and we're trying to save the school play. So obviously, for social distancing reasons, like having a live school play, like a nativity or a pantomime or a talent show, might be very hard this year. But you can still do that online too. You can use Rocketfund to sell tickets for it in advance. Like we talked about before, you just make the ticket being a reward. You can even have some premium seats or premium access or something, like early access tickets if you wanted to. And then you can film your play and then email it to the people after you've finished, or even film a live. You can film and stream it onto YouTube and have a live stream and make it private and send out the link to the live stream when you're ready. This could be particularly fun this winter when we can't go to the theatre and can't go to the nativities that we normally do. So I think it'd be a really wonderful thing to do. And we're doing a campaign which is going to be coming up soon with Peter Duncan, who's a former Blue Peter presenter. He's done his own pantomime online, and we're doing a joint campaign to encourage schools to do their own one too. So yeah, watch this space for that. Right, extra funding. This is the last bit that we're doing to Q&A. There's currently one major pot of extra funding available for schools. There'll be more coming in the future, no doubt, but the big one at the moment is for school eco projects, which might be appealing to all the outdoor projects we heard about earlier. And it says up to £5,000 of match funding from M&S Energy, and they're really, really keen to support schools this year. They've actually told us, please get more schools to apply. So this is a great shout out. Please apply. You can see the list of things they're looking to support there. If I can just change where our thingy is, you can see that these are the criteria that can support, like renewable technology installations that can literally be LED light bulbs, or energy efficiency measures that you're thinking about in doing. Anything to reduce the use of plastic or increase the recycling of plastics, and then any other carbon saving initiative like tree planting or the use of electric vehicles. So essentially, it's very, very open. They're just looking for ways to support communities to reduce their impacts on the environment. I would definitely, if you have anything in mind, I would definitely go for it. Like I said, you can get up to £5,000 match funding, which means if you raise £5,000, they'll give you £5,000. And that's tiered. So if you raise 1,000, you can get 1,000 matched. So it doesn't have to be a £10,000 project. It could be just a £1,000 or a £2,000 project. If you're keen, then go to that link there. We'll send it again. We'll send it after this presentation with all the other links. But you have to submit your idea before midday on Monday, the 19th of October, which is next Monday. So It's a short turnaround, only went live on this Monday. So we're not expecting hundreds of entries. So I'd really recommend applying. Right. Any questions? So Bertie, it's our Q&A time where we've got loads of questions coming through. Should I turn off the slides?
Fantastic. Beat you to it, Ben. Okay, so let's have a quick look, shall we, at what we've got. Thanks again for everyone who has asked a question, and we'll be sure to provide an email if you have any other questions that you'd like to ask. So we will start from the beginning, shall we? Yeah. And I've got one from, I think it might be good just to, I think there'll probably be a few questions about rewards. So I think we will have covered it, but I might just run through it again. So traditionally, a crowdfunding campaign, you can receive donations because people want to give out of the goodness of their heart. They really agree with the sentiment of what you're trying to achieve, and they don't want a reward. So maybe, like we talked about with a nature space for children, then they think, God, we need the next generation to really understand and love the environment to be able to take care of it. I think they need to spend more time outside, so I'm really happy to give a tenner to this cause. So we then enable people to offer rewards on your campaign because it increases the average amount pledged. So traditionally, the average donation is £20, whereas offering a range of rewards at different price points intended for different audiences means that the average amount pledged goes up to £50. So the categories of reward that you offer are products and services. So that's your kind of seed packets, tea towels, mugs, CDs. It could be the school play and things like that. Experiences and events is the next category. So this could be a ticket to a Zoom quiz, a Zoom talent show, a Zoom play. The next one is sponsorship and membership. So maybe the sponsorship would be more relevant for schools. So if that's a park, a bench that's on can have their name on in the playground, or the school's nature garden, or naming a particular wing of a new building, or their name in the gym to as a thank you for the sports equipment. A framed picture of themselves if you should so wish, and the last is thank you. So these are just a novelty 10, 20, 30, 40 pounds types of rewards where people will be directed to pledge a specific amount. And I think traditionally I always use these as a digital opportunity to send a thank you card or something that's you can send for free. But yeah, try not to worry. I know you're not a business, but for community campaigns, it's very much like a raffle. So do speak to all of the businesses as well in the area, because they may well want to offer a night stay for 2 people in a local hotel or B&B, a meal for 5 in a restaurant, because your job as a crowdfunding project manager as such is to get this page out in front of as many people as possible. So by having a sponsored section on your page and just including their logo or their business name, it's very good publicity for them. And maybe the customers or the supporters who pledge on that reward to go and have dinner there, there might be lifetime value in that custom and they really enjoyed it and would like to go again. So rewards are really, really useful. Don't think of them on the spot and just panic while you're on there now. Kids can make them if it's not if you're a senior school. Maybe these are, you could get some of the kids to do works of art, and much more besides the school t-shirts, hoodies, and other things that maybe would normally make available that you can encourage people to buy now to support the campaign. So hopefully that's probably enough on rewards. Was there any other key points on there?
No, I think it's great, Bertie. Yeah, I just want to whiz through a few of the others. We're really getting close to time. So a few people asked if it costs anything to use Rocketfund. So no, Rocketfund is completely free to use. We don't even charge a commission on what you raise. So we only charge. Well, we don't charge you. You will get charged about 3% by the payment processor. So that's essentially credit card fees, which they don't go to us. It goes to Stripe. And you won't get charged that unless you hit your target. So if you don't hit your target and don't raise anything, it's completely free. Then if you raise £100, you get charged approximately 3% in payment processing fees. We don't charge you anything at all. So we had a few people asking about multiple projects. So if they could do multiple projects in a year, or if they should do one big project or lots of small ones. I wouldn't do more than one project at a time. It might confuse people, but you can do multiple projects in a year, definitely, or even in a month. Do a quiz 1 week and then a bake sale 2 weeks later. You can create, we call them multiplier projects, where you have a sort of mother projects, like an overall project, which lots of smaller projects feed into, and that's great if you want to have a long-term goal, so to upgrade the football pitch, for example, and then you have events that's going on throughout the year towards that, or you want other people to be able to fundraise towards the same goal, so other students or other clubs. Lots of people asking about the webinar. Yeah, we'll send out the full recording after this, with slides and with the audio. Lots of questions about the raffle. Yes, you can run your raffle through this. We just have to call it a prize draw, an online prize draw, and we'll send out instructions on how to do that. Gift aid is, yes, you can use it to claim gift aid. Obviously, you have to be a charity to claim gift aid. So your PTA, for example, has to be registered charity. Just tick the gift aid box as you go through creating a project, and then people will be asked if they want to add gift aid to the donation. If they do, you'll get the information you need to claim the gift aid afterwards. Just looking at flinging through the other questions, but is there any ones that you wanted to pick out?
Yeah, so thank you, Maya, for your questions. You can use Apple Pay through the platform. And Deborah, your question of that, the issue being people are tired of those big fundraising, and many are in financial difficulties, and since COVID they've been asked to give by so many organizations, the sector is saturated. I think honestly we do have a very good perspective on this, because essentially that is our entire industry. So what we've seen is a huge amount of money go through crowdfunding to support charities, schools, businesses, and everything else. As people have adapted and have become more familiar with this type of giving, and the crowdfunding campaign is about drawing attention to the issues, because if the money's not coming from elsewhere, we've got to find it from somewhere, and this is the opportunity to tell the story. There's no pressure that puts on people to give, but it gives them the opportunity to give what they feel comfortable giving. And I think the challenge is for yourselves as the project owners to tell a story which really captures their
Bertie, you're frozen.
Am I still frozen?
You're back.
I'm back.
God.
Okay. Yeah. Well, maybe I was boring the system and it just cut me off. But I think just don't be discouraged, because there's a huge amount of people who are giving, and you just have to adapt your campaign so that it's appropriate for your type of audience, and that you therefore have a level at which everyone can contribute to it. There's 3 ways in which people can help a crowdfunding campaign. That's pledge, obviously, a financial contribution, share the page, which costs nothing and is free, or offer a particular reward. So like we said with businesses, maybe they don't want to make a financial contribution, but they might be happy to offer a reward.
Brilliant. A couple of other questions I'm going through on the control panel. Is there a limit to the number of projects fitting into the long-term goal? I don't think there is, Bertie. Do you know, we haven't seen a limit, have we, on the
No, you can. That it's a really smart way of crowdfunding. Essentially, when you have the opportunity to press the multiplier button, which enables other people to fundraise on your behalf. You can have any number of fundraisers supporting the campaign at the top, and really, I think it's best to comment on the earlier question about the number of campaigns. It's best to ensure that you start with the minimum you need and test it out. I don't think I think there is what would be called pledger fatigue if they're expected to pledge on so many campaigns. So it's best to split it up with a bit of distance throughout the year.
Okay, great one. We've got a question about what's the advantage of doing a fancy dress day online when most schools have a way for parents to pay schools directly, like parent pay. So I guess the benefit of crowdfunding over parent pay is that you can offer a range of rewards. So you can encourage larger donations, and people can donate as much as they like rather than just a fixed amount. So there's no pressure to donate anything at all. And if you can afford, or if you want to donate more, then you can. So I think it's a really great, effective way of fundraising.
Yeah, and there's a question from Jill. How did the school, I think it was the Morn & Smith example, give permission to include photos of the children on the webpage? So really, as the project owner, it was a mum who was putting it together. So she would have gathered the permissions from the other parents. It's simply just creating a sheet in which to get some signatures that they're happy to have their children's pictures on the page itself.
Yeah, but really good question. It's obviously a really important thing to do. So Joanna Baxter asked about a lot of these are great for primary schools, but trying to motivate teenage high school students or secondary school students to do things might be difficult. That's a really good point. I think that with teenage students, it might be good to get them involved in doing the project themselves. But actually, we've got a pitch video I was going to share by some teenage students. We didn't show any videos, but I forgot. But essentially, the older students, an adult has to create the project, but the students could lead the project themselves. They can write the pitch, create the video, even come up with a marketing campaign and what they want to buy. We're going to be running an entrepreneurial competition next year, probably. But in the meantime, if there's anything that they want to do, then that would be a really great way of engaging them, especially in these strange times when they might not be seeing their friends physically after school very much. They could do online. They could do this all online and talk online just like we are now. Here's a pitch video that was created by some students a couple of years ago to raise money for a video blogging club they wanted to create, and they wanted to buy some SLR cameras, so just some high quality cameras. Here it is.
Hi guys, we are
Them in STEM.
Unfortunately, Amar can't be here today, so it's just us three.
So we're pitching our idea for 2 different cameras so that we can blog our experiences about STEM.
Make sure you check out the video down below which explains what Fem in STEM does and will do for the future. We hope you also invest in our idea too. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Right, did that sound okay for you? Because that sounded very strange on my microphone.
Sounded good to me.
Okay.
And I think it's a really good way to engage the kids. There's so many different video types, and we'll send out some others in the email for you to have a look at. I can see there's just a couple of questions about how you keep track of who's paid or not, the backers. So at the end of your campaign, you'll have a download, which will be very GDPR specific, and that will tell you exactly who has donated or requested a reward and any details associated with that.
Karen's asked a question, so we didn't really address the sort of what's our business model. So what's in it for us guys? So the way we make money is through tips. So when a donor comes through and donates £10, we'll ask for a tip, and the message is simply help us keep this free for schools and support more schools by adding a tip to your donation. we found that's more effective than charging a commission to school projects, as you might expect. So I hope that makes sense, Karen. And there's a quick question from Jen Hoare. Are Rocketfund and crowdfunding linked, or do we need to create two projects? So no, so basically we're now essentially the same platform. There's two different brands. We'd really encourage schools to go through the Rocketfund platform, rocketfund.org, and because all the advice and support is focused on schools in that direction. But essentially, it's the same back end of the platform. So you only need to create one project. How will you be able to keep track of who's paid or not? Jenna Chalk. So basically, people.
The question about the backers download.
Oh, you got that? Okay. Yeah. Oh,
unless I was frozen at that.
You're back.
Am I freezing?
So you're okay now? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that was the question, just about you'll get a data download, which will very specifically give you a spreadsheet of everyone who's donated and the address details.
Okay. Right. I hope we've helped. I think we've addressed almost all the questions. If there's anything left over, guys, we'll email this out afterwards, and then feel free to reply with any questions you've got. The most important message really is give it a go. Go to rocketfund.org, click Get Started, create a project, and then we're here to support you through it, basically, and help you raise as much money as possible.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for attending, and I wish you the best of luck with any future campaigns. See you on the website soon, we hope.
Yeah, hopefully see you soon. Thank you, everybody.